Well, this is a massive treat for me personally. One of my parliamentary favorites, none other than Tamara Jansen from British Columbia, Cloverdale, Langley City. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to being able to do this with you because you are also one of my favorites.
Well, hey, it's a community of affection. We had so many people from our network that not only voted for you, but we had several that got involved in your campaign. And my mom loves you. And so there's a whole fan club here at For My Canada for Tamara Jansen. And you wasted no time, Tamara. We all noticed it. You hit the floor of the House of Commons and immediately started to be a strong voice for issues that you care about. So we're going to talk about two things today: C9, your comments at the committee, and then your very, very important bill to protect the mentally vulnerable, C218. But first of all, top of mind for everybody right now is this hate speech legislation. Of course, we know Andrew Lawton, Roman Baber, others have been sitting there at the Justice Committee, being such strong, articulate voices on this. But then there were other members of Parliament like yourself that said, hey, I'm not on the Justice Committee, but this is important enough for me to show up and to say a few words, excuse me. So first off, before we get to your new bill, let's talk about C9 for a moment and why you personally felt it was so important for you to show up at Justice.
Well, I mean, if there's one thing we need to do is we need to make sure that when we write laws, those laws are very, very clear. And what you could see them doing with this amendment that they were putting in was they were making it far less clear. I mean, the bill, is marketed as addressing hate and terror. But in actual fact, it makes it, this mushy area where it's not really that clear as to who on earth is going to fall underneath this new law. I think what really struck me is when Mark Miller, the Liberal chair, actually mentioned, which Bible books would be basically reason for a criminal offense. And it was just so shocking to me. And I think if we don't push back, I know some people say, oh, don't worry about it. That's just talk. I think talk is always it's the start to a real problem. And if we ignore it now, we are going to have a much bigger problem later. So, from the bottom of my heart, I absolutely needed to speak up not only for my own faith, because I believe Christians have really struggled in Canada. We're quite a minority, but there are other faiths that have also struggled. And we need to make sure that across the board, everybody is allowed freedom of religion. And that includes ensuring that nobody criminalizes a passage from someone's holy book.
Yeah. And the scriptures that Mr. Miller mentioned were both in the Old Testament and the New Testament. So that affects both Jewish Canadians and Christians. Thank you so much for taking time on that. And you're doing more than just showing up at the Justice Committee these days. You're also hosting Mr. Lawton for an event. So for those that are within, driving distance from where you are, tell us about what you are doing on the 23rd here.
Okay, so on the 23rd, we're going to do a town hall. Andrew's decided that he was more than happy to come on out. He's actually had a lot of emails, as have I, from this area of people very concerned about this issue. So he said, hey, if you have a space, let's get together and let's make sure we have an opportunity to kind of explain to people what this law is about and how they can respond. There's nothing better than a town hall face to face where you can really actually interact with each other. So 23rd, it's going to be starting at 7:00. It's in my riding, although my riding is Cloverdale, Langley City. Cloverdale is Surrey, so it's a Surrey location. Space is limited. We do have a link, an RSVP link. If we get a big enough response, we can always look to find a spot which is larger. For me, it's very important that we have a big response because if we don't have people coming out and making sure that we make noise, that we're very concerned about this across all faiths, it's possible that this thing gets shut down really quick once we get back. And I'm very concerned. We need to push back so that the Liberals say, hey, we made a mistake. We need to actually rather than remove a safeguard, we need to make sure it's back in there. And so that's why I'm so thankful to Andrew for, number one, putting forward that amendment, and number two, saying, Tamara, I'm with you. You get people together. I'll be there.
Yeah, and at a time where we're seeing unprecedented church burnings across our nation. I think the last time I had you on my television show, that's what we were talking about. There was that church burning in Surrey. It is it is, this one's a big one. This is a really, really big one.
Yes,
Sorry.
exactly.
I think my
Exactly.
mother's calling because she knows I'm talking to you. Sorry, shut that off. Okay, so how do people find out about it if they want to RSVP?
So I will be sending out emails. I believe that it will also be posted on social media. So you could, so check out my own social media. It's not up yet, but if you respond to the RSVP, we'll make sure that there's space for everybody.
Amazing. And that's going to be just a few days before you guys get on a plane and head back to Ottawa. And this is going to be in full blown, back the Justice Committee. It's going to be roaring. It's going to be on. So super,
Absolutely.
super important. But in addition to that, I want to talk about your bill, C218.
Right.
And so just to catch some of our viewers up here who are not like political junkies, kind of like you and I, 2016, this was the previous Liberal government under Justin Trudeau legalizing medical assistance in dying. And at that point, we were told that this was only going to be for people who were terminal, whose death was basically imminent. There were safeguards. I think there was a 10-day waiting period at that time. And a very similar sort of thing where people were like, it's no big deal. Same sort of
Exactly.
things we're hearing about C9 right now. And here we are, several years down the line. Last I checked, medical assistance in dying is the number 4 cause of death in Canada right now, state administered suicide. And that's if you don't count abortion, as I understand it. So it might be number 5. And in 2027, the Liberals are going to be expanding this to those who are depressed, mentally ill, the mentally vulnerable. You're bringing forward a bill to deal with this. Tell our viewers about it.
Okay, well, so I think it's important that I clarify this. It is actually already legal, but it hasn't been put into practice yet. So the law is there. That law will actually come into effect on the 20s. I think that sometime in March 2027. So that's still a year away, but it is already written into our criminal code. And so that's my biggest concern. So with this bill, we would actually we would criminalize it. So we would say, no, we can't allow this to go forward. The challenge that we have is time goes so fast when you're trying to move a bill like this. So my bill is C218, and it would basically stop the legal use of MAiD for someone whose sole underlying problem is a mental illness. If we can't get things moved forward fast enough, this could actually become legal in March 2027. So that's why we put it forward. It's a slow process. We started back in June, I believe, was our first reading, or when we actually tabled it. We did our first reading in December. Then we actually will have a second reading. It's kind of because of the way all the holidays and times off worked. March 26th will be second reading, and then, so second hour, and then we'll have a vote in April. So think about that, how quickly that time flies,
100%.
right? So we have this law, it is on the books. It's just been paused, right? They basically, not yet. And we're saying, no, we need to go to no. So that's our concern. Yeah.
And thank you for clarifying that. And so it was supposed to actually be activated already. And then there were several medical professionals, as I understand it, that said, hey, we are not ready for this. We do not have safeguards. We don't even have a way to process, the definitions around mental illness. And, where's the threshold where's the line between where we fight for someone and where we help them end their lives. And so they said, this is so problematic. So the pause point, but thank you for reminding me that it actually does have this trigger in just over a year. So when it's voted on in March, if it passes, it's not passed. It goes to committee.
Sorry, April. Did I say March? April. My apologies.
Well, you said
April
second
16th.
hour was March and then voted on in April. Yes.
There you go. Then it goes to committee. Exactly. If we can get it to pass, it will go to committee.
Yeah. And then it could stay in committee for a couple months or several
Yeah.
weeks minimally. And then if it goes back to the floor of the House of Commons, third reading passes, it's still got to go through the whole process in the Senate as well. So, what I'm hearing here is that not only is it important to support this bill, but it's important to ask our leaders to prioritize it and to expedite it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, the challenge we have, right? It's not the tip of the spear for most Canadians, right? Most Canadians they're working on trying to put food on the table, right? They're trying to make ends meet, a roof over their head. And so this is one of those things where, it can just kind of march on and people don't necessarily notice. So that's why I'm super thankful that you are willing to kind of put this message out and say, I know that everybody's struggling. I get that. But this thing is coming up like a freight train. We need to actually, put our foot down, send emails to our MPs, send messages to, our friends and say, hey guys, help me push this to the top of the agenda.
And I want to mention that because people are struggling, all the more reason for us to prioritize this, because there are people that might be depressed, struggling with addiction right now because of the economic crisis that we're in, the cost of living crisis, that, give them a year or two to get their feet under them and they would be okay. But this time next year, they might not be okay. And they might be that individual that asks for medical assistance and dying because they're depressed, because they're addicted. And so this is the fact that times are tough is all the more reason why we need to stop
And
this.
yeah, and I think that the other challenge we have is so many people who are struggling with mental health challenges can't even access mental health services. So there's an example of people attempting to get services, they can't get it, and then they're offered MAiD, which is much easier to access. We really need to be actually helping those who are most vulnerable, those who, when they're struggling with their own, worth, they feel like, well, you'd be better off without me. We need to make sure that we say no. No, we're better off with you. Let's get you the help that you need. And so this is super important that we actually, again, during tough times, push this forward and say, let's not give up hope. Let's show these people how much we care.
Yeah, and the gravity of this is just hitting me, Tamara. I think back to C-69, C-48, those two bills, the anti-pipeline bills, when Justin Trudeau passed those, and it just hit the Alberta economy so hard. We saw employment rates spike at that time. And I remember seeing a statistic that said for every 1% of employment rate increase, there was about a 2 to 3% increase in suicide rates. So, these are so connected. And let's talk for a minute, though, about the safeguards, because some people will say that, like, the government knows what they're doing. They're going to put in safeguards. The super ultra vulnerable will be protected. Do you believe that? Do you feel like the safeguards are working?
Well, actually, we know that the safeguards aren't working. We just had a report that came out from the Ontario MAiD Review Board. They actually have a board that receives, if there's a complaint, they have to go through that, and they have a coroner on that board as well. And what they're seeing is that things are not going as expected. So, for instance, there was a woman who her husband was exhausted from her caretaking. They're a senior couple, and she had said she wanted to live out the rest of her life in hospice. So she was coming close to death, but she wanted hospice. But her husband was exhausted from caretaking, and when they found out that she wouldn't actually be able to get support for hospice care, he actually said, I can't do this. And so he had her go for another MAiD assessment. So even though she had requested hospice, she went for a MAiD assessment, and within a very short time, she was approved for MAiD. So she requested hospice. Her caretaker was exhausted and was not able to provide that for her himself. And then they didn't qualify for funding for hospice. And within a very, very short time, she was approved for MAiD. So we're seeing places where people are, for lack of services, for lack of funding, for lack of many things, are actually being given MAiD, and against what the law requires of them. So it's a really concerning thing. if we don't understand that this will apply to all of us at some point in time in our life, I think it's very easy for us to slough it off and say, well, no, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal because the most vulnerable are actually being put in a situation where they have no choice. We need to make sure that people are able to access the care that they need that will give them a better life. Yes, we know that mental health challenges are very difficult. We know that people really do suffer, but we also know that with the right care, they can be given um, hope for the future. They can actually improve. They may not ever be completely cured, but they can definitely improve. And we need to hold on to that as a country. We need to ensure that those people who are most vulnerable, those people who are struggling, are the people that we're caring for. So, yeah, safeguards don't appear to be working very well. Absolutely not a single case has ever gone to court. And I think that shocks me the most is, and it's often been an argument from the liberal side, is that, well, clearly the safeguards are working because nobody has been charged with anything. But we definitely need to make sure that for those who are most vulnerable, those who are suffering from something like depression or PTSD, would actually get services before they get MAiD.
Yeah, absolutely. I am really hijacked on that story that you just shared of the man who didn't have the capacity to care for his wife. There's another word for that situation, and it's coercion, right? Where really she would have felt so much guilt, and she would have felt like I believe there's a term from Europe called, or a phrase, the duty to die. And I remember when this was first coming back in 2016, individuals like Alex Schottenberg actually talked about that, how there is this cultural dynamic that can kick in where people actually feel a duty to access medical assistance in dying because they don't want to be a burden to society or to their loved ones. It's a totally different cultural dimension. So we need to ask some hard questions right now regarding all of this. So thank you so much, Tamara. And I also want to mention this too. I don't think any one of us who is you or I on the screen, or those that are watching this video right now, don't know of somebody who hasn't struggled with depression and mental illness at some point in their lives. I know when I was in high school, I struggled with an eating disorder, struggled with self-hate. Everybody's got a story, and almost all of us came through. Right. And so we have to remember that. So let me ask you a question. This has already been on the floor of the House of Commons. Members of Parliament have already had opportunity to speak to it. How are members of Parliament from the other parties, the Liberals, the NDP, the Bloc, how are they responding to your bill?
Well, we've had lots of discussions. If you were listening to any of that first hour of reading, we definitely are hoping that the NDP will be with us like they were last time with the Ed Fast bill, which this is basically the same as Ed Fast bill. I have been reaching across the floor, and I know that I have colleagues on the Liberal side who are very concerned about this. We just don't know how they will be voting. I'm hoping that they would be given a free vote, that they would not whip this vote. It's going to be a challenge. We need a fair amount of Liberals to support us. So, if you live in a riding that you have a Liberal MP or even an NDP, it would be awesome if you could reach out to them with an email or a telephone call. I know it's very difficult. Like, there's a lot of emails that are arriving into people's mailboxes, in email boxes, but if you can actually speak to them online, on a telephone line, you will have, I think, a better response, right? It's so much harder to ignore someone when you're on the telephone, when you're talking to them directly. If you can meet with them in their office, that's even better. But it's you're getting involved, and you're letting your local MP know where you stand and why you stand there, and also, being reasonable. I don't encourage anybody to go to a MP and be really angry, but go there and like speak to their heart and say, these are vulnerable people that we need to protect, and I'm asking you to join me in protecting them and supporting this bill. So that's kind of where we're at. We have a lot of work to do. This is helpful for getting that news out to everybody so that they will contact their MP. That would be awesome. And get more people to contact their MP. So
Yes, absolutely. And I want to accent what you just said there. We had one former cabinet minister who was cabinet minister with the Harper government who said when she would get just 3 phone calls on any one issue, her staff would just be like, we got to talk about this. And it would just, really get run up the flagpole. But those emails, even petitions, are easy to ignore, right? But that personal contact. So thank you so much for reminding us of that. So, March, second hour of debate. Then it's going to go to the vote in April. So that's far, but not far. But the bottom line is we need it to be even sooner, right? Because some people might just be like, oh, well, I got time to say. Well, part of the thing here is we want this to be expedited. And, the Liberal government can change the schedule. They can expedite things. And so let's really, really make the effort right now. And I'm going to be putting in the description of this email, Tamara, I'll be putting in all the to-dos. Now, can we assume that your colleagues in the Conservative caucus are pretty much on side with you on this one and that it's really more the Liberals, the Bloc, and the NDP that need to be contacted?
yes, yeah, you can decide for yourself. That's how they voted last time. I don't think anybody's changed their mind on this issue. I think it's very important to reach out to those who did not vote with us last time. Even more important, reach out to the ones who did that weren't on our team and
Yeah.
encourage them again, because they can also talk to their colleagues and say, hey colleagues, let's do the right thing here. Let's support this particular bill, even though last time it didn't quite pass.
Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our research team here at For My Canada, Tamara, to pull together a call target list, and
Okay.
we'll break down some of that. So remind us again the committee that is going to be looking at this, assuming that it goes to second reading or past the second reading.
I'm assuming it would be health, but that I would have to double check on. For me right now, I'm just trying to make sure that we get enough support so it would go to committee.
It gets there. Yeah, absolutely.
Time's running out. So whichever committee, we need to get it there. We need to, when this was originally put forward, this was dumped in by the Senate. The Senate made an amendment to the bill, and we didn't have the information that we have now. So we have, I think, the heads of 17 of our medical institutions that are saying, we have no test, we have no scan, we have no way of telling if someone's mental condition is irremediable.
Yeah.
There is no way to know this. And so therefore, if we are allowing people MAiD, we could be making a mistake 100% of the time. We cannot tell when someone could not only be cured, but also just flourish. So this is why it's so important. It's not just, it's not a partisan thing. This is a very serious issue for all Canadians, and the medical system itself is saying, hey, wait, there's no way we can tell. So we need to listen to them. When they came to committee previously and they were warning us, and now they warn us even further. So the more we hear, the more we realize this is a very bad idea. It's very bad for vulnerable people. So let's get everybody on board and protect those people who need that.
Yeah, so powerful. And so medical professionals are sounding the alarm against this. The United Nations is actually calling on Canada to reverse course on this. We've got disability, human rights groups that are sounding the alarm. And we've got Tamara Jansen, the amazing and all those who agree with her. So thank you so much, Tamara. So let us know where our viewers, our followers can catch up with you. You mentioned that you're active on Facebook. Do you have an email list, a website? Where can people find you?
Yes. So I have so first of all, I do social media, which would be mostly Facebook and Instagram. I have a website, and at that website, you'll find a link in order to get on our email list. So it's Tamara MP, I think it is. I haven't looked at the website lately, but anyway.
Good.
Yeah, good. So there's a link there that you can get on our email list. We have thousands of people that have responded to this bill, thousands by email. So we are in contact with them. We're letting them know what's going on, where we're at. So please do sign up. It helps us a lot to show what kind of concern there is. I mean, one email is just one email, but thousands of emails. it has a lot of pull, and it shows where Canadians are concerned.
Amazing. Well, everybody chase down the amazing Tamara Jansen. We are so grateful for you. I am so glad you're on the floor of the House of Commons. We love you. My mom says hi. And
Hi,
any,
mom.
yeah, there you go. Any final words before we cinch this?
My final words would be thank you to everybody that's engaging on this. I can do very little. I can make noise without your help, without you getting, sending emails, talking to your neighbors, talking to your family, talk to your doctor, find out where your doctor stands on these things, because without you, we cannot move this issue forward. So thank you very much. Thank you, Fatine, for encouraging your followers to engage in this. It really takes everybody to make this move in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being the tip of the spearhead on this and giving us someone to support. And thank you for your generosity of time today.
Thank you.